Okay guys, back here with the Dragon WORX. I'm going to try to go over this as quick as I can because there's a lot to talk about. I've been having a lot of people asking about this project, and the poor project has been, over a year and a half now or something. I start and stop on it. I've had to move the bike a couple times, so I had to put everything back on it so I could move it. I've just been very busy working on everybody else's stuff and building them bikes and everything else I do, and I just don't have time to work on my own stuff, so poor thing gets started and stopped all the time. But I believe when I left off that it was still primered. I think I was working on the tank had some damage, if you remember, so I had to do a little body work and paint on it. And I made this fender last year for it out of another fender. I kind of fabricated it out of an old Japanese fender basically, and then kind of brought it down to this point, and then it gave me this idea of this nice stinger stripe on it. So I've dubbed this bike the Dragon WORX Stinger. So it's called the Stinger, and I went ahead and carried that Stinger down through the tank. And yeah, it's still got to be polished, so it'll be a lot shinier and everything. It's not done yet at all. This poor, like I say, this project has been started and stopped so many times. The carbs are just sitting on here right now for mock-up purposes and fitting and all that. I still got to put linkage back on it. And then I also take the bowl screws out and replace those with new ones. They're just in there while I painted them. And I was going to do polished caps. I took the caps off and polished them. I was going to polish the caps and the bowls, but there's places in the bowls, like where the screws are and stuff, that you can't polish, so it ends up looking stupid. It's better just to paint them. The hold up on this whole thing for a long time was these stupid fuel tubes. They only made them like 1 or 2 years, and they sucked and they always leaked, and this one was totally dry rotted and fell off, and you can't get them anymore. So what you have to do is you have to get these tubes, and sorry, you're not going to be able to see very well. You have to get these new aluminum ones back in here where my finger's at, not where the camera's focusing, but back in there. You have to get these T's and put these O-rings on them or whatever, and I had one heck of a time getting the right ones. And even when I got these, they were so hard to get in. It just don't seem right. The fitment wasn't 100%, but right now, I tried them out. They're not leaking. I don't know if I trust them or not, but anyway, so yeah, I try to be a little different. I've done a couple bikes where I painted the carbs, some where I polished them. What happens is, like I say, there's nooks and crannies in here that you will never get in there and polish. So it looks horrible if you try to polish them. So it's better to just paint them, or you can scuff them or sandblast them or something like that, and they also look pretty cool. But for me, this is what I like. Just paint them. And this is the actual color of the maroon paint. I put the right amount of coats on here. These look really funny through the camera, so I don't know how it's picking them up. They're not that far off, but these caps I put on the engine and the badges definitely need more paint. I found out it's kind of a candy paint, and it seems like the more coats, obviously, the darker it gets, and this is the color that I was going for. You can see it here too. It shows up a little bit better. Even though this is plastic, you can see that darker color there. But that's the red. And here it doesn't, the camera just don't pick it up right, so I'm not even going to bother with that. That different angle up from the top looking down just really distorts it. So anyway, this is definitely a project in progress. I got a ways to go. I just never have enough time to work on it. I trimmed these covers down to this cover. Instead of replacing it, I just did the best I could with it. It was distorted. I don't know, the guy had it sitting close to the barbecue grill or something. It was a little deformed and what have you. But one thing I did notice, let me go on the other side. Not notice, it's just a fact that they used to mount on these little clips right here that are really hard to see with the lighting. And when the cover was on there, it actually sat back over here, and there was a big gap, which I never could stand. But the other thing was that after I did the frame modification in the seat, the cover didn't really fit good to the bike. And so since this bike is kind of a on-road, off-road, and it's very slightly off-road, but you could take this bike down a fire trail, you know, a dirt road, a gravel road, or whatever. So that's the theme of the bike. So I went with like low, easy maintenance kind of stuff. If you scratch this paint, it's easy to touch up. It's enamel. And going with that theme, I decided to kind of make these side covers like dirt bike covers, you know, real thin. I trimmed them all down myself. And then what I do is I got this here for an example. If I can't find a little rubber trim, like sometimes you can get appliance trim or something and go around these covers, I just take some hose and I slice it down the center, and I'll put that all the way around, and it makes a real nice looking piece, but it also fits everything real snug. And then what I do is, I know you're gonna hate this, but they basically just get zip tied on. Yep, I said that. Zip tied, because that's, like I say, that's the kind of bike it is. They'll just simply have zip ties holding them on, and you can pop them off, do whatever you gotta do. They're easy maintenance, easy to replace, what have you. So that's just kind of what I went with there on that particular one. And I don't know, did I already say something about the tail light? I've got so much to go over that I can't even remember. I don't know if I told you, but basically tail light right here is just an LED strip that goes inside there. And you got your brake light in the center, and then your blinkers are on the side, so that takes care of lighting. And it has these basically like a low profile motocross bar. Now of course this will all be changed. That's just the old one. This gives you a little more control. It's a heavy bike, it's a big bike. Instead of like a club bar or clip-ons or something, it gives you a good, like when you're sitting, riding position, and you can actually go over obstacles and stuff. I've done it, you know, with other bikes, and it works really well. So that's the kind of bars. This is still the old cap color. You can't tell in this lighting, I guess a little bit. I was just showing the difference one day to somebody and left that old one there. It's still got to be repainted, and a lot of stuff's got to be done. The covers get different here, and there's things that are painted over that'll get taken off and cleaned up. And of course, like the spark plugs, I put them in the holes so nothing gets in them, and these will all be new and so forth. So got all the wiring to do yet, got to update all that kind of stuff. Still got to do the shocks, polish this back piece, and or it was going to get painted, so I'm not 100% sure on that yet. It's hard because you really, when you're doing a build like this, you need to be able to stay 100% focused and just put your attention on these things, so you can think way ahead. You have to constantly be thinking way ahead. And right now that's impossible with my workload. Anybody who knows me or been following me, I have been swamped all year long, working almost 7 days a week, every week. Sometimes I try to take off on Sunday, you know, just to have a little time to recuperate, spend time, you know, with loved ones and so forth, and do all my errands that I have to do personally and stuff, you know, live life like you're supposed to. Just really busy doing everybody else's stuff. And if you can't just focus 100% on these things, then you shouldn't even work on them. Because they don't end up turning out right. So that's kind of what's happened here. Start, stop, you know, or what have you. But I'm going to keep plugging away and get back on track and try to get this thing knocked out soon. I got some money tied up in it that I would like to get back and get another project that I can actually focus time on. The other thing I'm trying to do is transition between working on everybody else's stuff all the time and have enough money coming out of these projects that I can do more builds, because that's what I really enjoy. And I would love to do it all the time, but you know, it's hard when it takes months. Of course, in this one, it's years, but that's because I'm doing everything else. But it'd take months to build these, and you know, you got bills to pay and so forth. So it's hard to transition into doing just a lot of builds until you get a couple of them done. And even if I did, people would still, you know, find me and beg me to do their stuff, and I'm such a good guy that I can't say no, and that's why I'm in the position I'm in, I guess. they say nice guys finish last. So, you know, I'm always scraping to get by and struggling to have time to do my own stuff. So that's just the life. That's just what it is. But that's what's happening with the project. The motor's been totally rebuilt. I've never been able to fire it yet. The carbs are totally rebuilt. I still got a little bit to do on them. I've got the throttle cable bracket, the idle screws gotta be, all this stuff's gotta be cleaned up, polished, and or painted. The spring put back on. So there's a dead bug. Anyway, yeah, that stuff is still got to be done. There's a lot's got to be done. Like I say, all the wiring, controls, lights. You know, you guys can see what's got to be done. So I got to get off of this damn camera here and get to work. So then maybe I can get it done. It's going to have pods on it, of course. I may have already mentioned that. There'll be black pods filters here, so to keep going with that black and maroon theme. And yeah, maybe it'll actually, I'd like to fire this thing up in the next week or two. That's what I need to do. I need to get it running again. So we'll see if that happens, at least within the next 2 weeks. All right, this video is getting a little too long, and most of you probably are already clicked off and looking at something else, but that's where we're at. WORX Stinger. Thanks for watching. Peace out.